Hey there, anime fans! Welcome back to our channel where we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of anime. Today, we're counting down the top 5 anime premieres of summer 2024. So grab your popcorn and get ready for some epic recommendations. Starting off our list at number 5, we have Monogatari Series Off and Monster Season. Oh, Monogatari, you masterfully presented messy, sprawling, problematic fave. After 5 years, it's a little disorienting to be thrust back into the middle of this world full of apparitions, supernatural phenomena that also work as metaphors for these characters' long-standing issues. But the series' ostentatious visual stylings remain on full display. Shaft is back, and while there seems to have been massive turnover at the studio in recent years, longtime Monogatari director Akiyuki Shinbo and the rest of the team have maintained the show's iconic avant-garde presentation, including its constant cutaways, art style switches, ultra-detailed characters, head tilts, and visual gags, which make it one of the most aesthetically arresting anime out there. It's a look that nicely complements the mile-a-minute dialogue from author Nishio Isen's wordy novels. And through this first episode, we're immersed in these self-indulgent sensibilities yet again as Yotsugi Ononoki takes over for previous protagonist Koyomi in dealing with paranormal happenings. Although this latest season comes across as too much like a side adventure so far, as the main story wrapped up in the last arc, this episode still delivers the type of intriguing psychological circumstances that have made this series more than just eye candy. However, despite its visual strengths and mostly interesting characters, Monogatari is still difficult to recommend to well-adjusted human beings for many reasons. First off, there's a lot of it, close to 100 episodes, and its seasons are named so confusingly that you'll need to look up a watch order guide to proceed. And much more importantly, some of its content is highly questionable, to say the least. It hits just about every icky anime trope imaginable across its long fan-servicey run, and while some of this feels like it's mocking otaku sensibilities in a tongue-in-cheek way, often it just unironically does the thing. Thankfully, these elements feel at least a little tamped down in this premiere, in large part because the series' controversial protagonist is gone, but knowing this series, it's probably just a temporary reprieve. There's some really compelling stuff here, but as always with Monogatari, proceed at your own peril. Coming in at number 4 is Senpai is an Otokonoko. At least through its premiere, Senpai is an Otokonoko seems to be balancing its delicate subject matter relatively well as it fleshes out the queer love triangle between its central trio. We follow Saki, a wrecking ball freshman who immediately confesses her love to Makoto Hanaoka, an elegant upperclassman who she believes is a girl. However, Makoto turns down Saki's offer and reveals they currently describe themselves as an Otokonoko, a Japanese slang term sometimes used for people who are assigned male at birth and crossdress. The phrase has a lot of baggage, but this video unpacks some of it. Considering that most anime's track record with gender non-conforming characters is quite bad, I was a little concerned with how this show would handle these sensitive topics, but at least in its first episode, it mostly seems respectful thus far. This relatively accepting atmosphere starts with our boisterous protagonist, whose feelings are entirely unchanged when they learn more about Makoto. Saki is a ball of energy, and while I'm sure some will find her a bit much, especially given how down bad she is for her crush, personally, I found her largely delightful. We've already seen flashes of how Makoto is ostracized by their peers and pushed into a gender-confirming box by their parents. So when Saki goes out of her way to give them a femme-coded gift, this casual acceptance clearly hits deep. And of course, being a romance story, things need to be a bit more complicated, so there's also Makoto's childhood friend, Ryuji, an overprotective boy who is clearly in love with Makoto as well. Mercifully, unlike many romantic rivals, he's also sympathetic once we understand why he's initially so skeptical of Saki. As for its visuals, they're solid, but I'm not entirely sold on the show's frequent art style switches during its comedic scenes, which are disorienting even though these scenes are apparently accurate to the manga. Although the jury is still out if this story will do justice to its queer themes, particularly around Makoto and their messy feelings about gender, so far this one is off to a largely empathetic start. Taking the number 3 spot is Nia A, Automata Ver 1, a Part 2. Fans of the Nia series will be thrilled to dive back into this captivating world filled with androids, machines, and a gripping storyline. As a self-admitted Nia freak, I continue to be fascinated and mostly impressed with how A1 Pictures has brought a seemingly unadaptable video game to the small screen. While Nia Automata is a game that leans so hard in its chosen medium that it's impossible to fully capture its charms elsewhere. Thankfully, Ver 1. 1A has its own strengths. On top of its striking imagery, this show smartly integrates story beats from outside the game, like the prequel manga Yorha, Pearl Harbor Descent Record, which fills in some important gaps. As for the first episode back, we pick up as the androids 2B and 9S continue to serve the authoritarian organization Yorha, who are locked in a forever war with alien robots. This series is wild, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. One of the trickiest elements for this adaptation is that the game is told over several playthroughs, where similar events are reframed from different perspectives as you switch characters. Obviously, that format doesn't really work outside of a video game, and so the approach here is to play a little faster and looser with chronology. While this presentation is a little confusing up front, especially after the year-long gap since the last season, this episode eventually settles into some wonderfully melodramatic turns that play up the crushing systems of violence these androids are trapped in. Although the game is still the best way to experience this story for the first time, Ver 1. 1A continues to be a solid introduction to this world that's even more rewarding for those familiar with the source material. As long as there isn't another production meltdown like there was during the previous season, I'm expecting good things on the horizon. In the runner-up position at number 2, we have Elusive Samurai. This historical anime follows the journey of a young samurai as he navigates the turbulent times of feudal Japan, filled with action and intrigue. Elusive Samurai's premiere is an absolute visual feast. From the jump, this depiction of early 14th century Japan is anchored by vivid colors and smoothly animated movement that firmly places us in this historical setting as Tokiyuki, the heir to the figurehead shogunate, literally flees his duties. While there is a somewhat calming energy to these initial minutes, those familiar with the time-honored tradition of anime with brutal first episode twists, or those who have a working knowledge of Japanese history, will be able to sniff out that our protagonist's cheery youth is a little too idyllic. However, even though I was expecting something to go wrong, I wasn't prepared for how mesmerizing the butchery would be, as a truly demented match cut gives way to a montage of apocalyptic violence. I'm staying vague here to avoid completely spoiling the specifics. Cloverworks Studio has put out some of the most visually impressive series in recent memory: Boki the Rock, Spy X Family, My Dress Up Darling, etc. And here, their talented staff crafts a festival of carnage so striking and off-puttingly colourful that it looks like an off-kilter rendition of hell. This all sets the stage for a showdown between our protagonist, whose main ability is that he's really good at running away, and a bloodthirsty warlord who is equally good at killing, as the two battle for the future of their country. So far, the series is doing some interesting things by criticizing tired cliches around samurai honor, as these belief systems are undercut by the previously mentioned scenes of mass murder and our protagonist's focus on running away. While I'm not entirely sold on the extended cast or the show's attempts at comedy so far, Elusive Samurai's incredible visuals and intriguing ideas make it one to check out if you don't mind all the bloodletting. And finally, claiming the top spot at number 1 is Otokonoko Season 2. This highly anticipated sequel continues the story of a young idol and her struggles in the cutthroat world of entertainment, promising drama, music, and emotional moments. I didn't fully appreciate how much I missed Otokonoko until this excellent first episode back knocked the wind out of me. In its initial few minutes alone, it gracefully communicated the nuances of yet another creative field, in this case, stage plays, in an inspired performance sequence that capitalized on our investment in these characters. Giving the full plot setup for this series would be an exercise in futility and deception. But basically, we continue to follow Aqua and Ruby, the secret children of a famous idol who are working their way up the entertainment industry. Here, things pick back up after Aqua lands a gig in a theatre adaptation of a mega-hit manga. From the jump, we dive into the type of inside baseball this show excels at. Specifically, we get an extended explanation of the storytelling decisions that go into adapting a lengthy manga into a shortened stage play. While admittedly, I'm a little biased because I could listen to this specific kind of minutiae all day, the immaculate presentation ensures that even those less interested in these details will have plenty to enjoy. Studio Doga Kobo and director Daisuke Hiramaki continue to do excellent work, best demonstrated in a stunning acting rehearsal brought to life with splashes of colour as Kana wows her co-stars so thoroughly it appears like she literally transforms into her character. Not only is this moment visually inspired, but it reminds us how deeply we've come to care about the well-rendered performers at the centre of this story. Although our protagonist, Aqua, continues to be this narrative's weakest link, as his revenge quest feels played out next to the rest of the cast's more compelling personal drama, the setup for this season means we will be seeing plenty of this excellent ensemble. Visually and dramatically, it's clear Otokonoko hasn't missed a beat since its impressive debut last year. There you have it, folks. The top 5 anime premieres of summer 2024, ranked and ready for you to binge watch. Which of these series are you most excited to check out? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more anime content. Until next time, happy watching.
Bye bye!